Those involved in the wreck. Jeff Gordon has made several pit stops. He continues in competition. John Andretti does as well. Casey Kane has taken his car to the garage for repairs along with Jeff Burton and Dave Blaney. Tony Stewart is the race leader over Sterling Marlin, Jeremy Mayfield, Jimmy Johnson, and Elliott Sadler. We have 22 cars on the lead lap. We added a couple there under that last caution. Scott Wimmer was the lucky dog, plus Dale Jarrett and Robbie Gordon.
All right, BP, now we'll see if that 20 car takes off again because he's out front in clean air. We thought there was something wrong with this car earlier. We'll see if it was the traffic that was the problem. In the meantime, you got the guys in the back that are in traffic. Sterling Marlin, Jimmy Johnson back there.
Remember that Marlin and Jeremy Mayfield only got right side tires on their pit stops there a little while ago. Casey Kane is with Marty Snyder.
Casey, what happened?
I just got the restart. Going through the gears, I was just shifting into fourth. My car got loose and hit the wall. I don't know if obviously the 20 got in the back of me, but you know I don't know what the deal is there.
To do have a history, do you think it was personal or just racing?
Well, you never know with him, but you know, I don't think he's. It's tough to say with him. I don't really know. I just know that I was just getting ready to shift to fourth. My car was sliding a little bit, and as I pulled it into fourth, I was backwards in the wall. So it's too bad for our Dodge Dealers team. It's disappointing.
Were you aware of the altercation on pit road between your team and his team?
I just heard about it. You know, I don't know what to say about that. Maybe I don't know.
All right, the young man truly had a shot to win this race, but he's done now.
It looks like Tony Stewart's car is okay, Wally, because the last lap, he turned his fastest lap of the day.
Yeah.
Well, one thing you can say about... all right, we'll follow up on that thought in a second. Dave?
Caught up with Tommy Baldwin now. Tommy, what happened out there on pit road?
Just Tony Stewart doing what he's been doing all year, driving like a moron. You know, there's no reason to do that stuff, and he gets away with it all he wants, and all NASCAR does is fine him. He's got plenty of money. The guy needs to sit out a race. That's it.
What was your intention when you went down to Greg? To talk about
talking to Zippy and tell him, you know, his driver's a moron. I got off the pit box. They started pushing me. Then the official grabbed me. I don't know what happened after that.
All right, it was a big melee, guys, and Tommy Baldwin obviously not happy what happened to his car today.
And Tommy has been invited to visit with NASCAR officials at the conclusion of today's race.
I guess we got to get it. Don't in basketball, isn't there a rule that the coaches can't leave the coach's box or the players can't?
Sure,
you
yeah.
can't leave your pit box, I guess. Got to come up with a rule.
We got a third man in rule in hockey. You can't be the third man in the fight.
Okay, well.
Tommy and let's see, it was Marty interviewing Casey, referenced history between Casey Kane and Tony Stewart. And just to bring you up to speed, if you don't recall the history, this goes back to Darlington in the spring.
Casey Kane, the 9, goes up. He thinks he's clear of Tony, goes up and makes contact with Tony. Goes down the corner, and in my opinion, Tony deliberately spun out the 9 car.
I'll go with you on that one, BP.
And so that is, I think that kind of started things, the ball rolling.
But I don't know. I just see this thing different. I just see that Tony Stewart has got a lot of steam, and all of a sudden that 9 car, whether he was shifting gears or whatever, slowed down in front of the 20 car.
Oh, I don't think this was a punt, a deliberate thing here. No, I don't think that at all.
Don't see this as an intentional. I don't think Darlington had anything to do with just happening.
But it happened.
Well, but it happened.
And the tempers boiled.
Yep.
And the results you saw, and by the way, Greg Zipadelli, Tony Stewart's crew chief, has been invited for a visit with NASCAR officials after the race, too. I'll stand by my earlier statement. There'll be some money cashed in later this week and some fines and other things handed out, too. Tony Stewart leading this race. The 41 car of Casey Mears is a lap down. He's the first car a lap down in 23rd position. The next car chasing Tony is that car, Jimmy Johnson, 2 seconds behind.
And right now he's about as fast as Tony Stewart, running about the same speed as Tony Stewart. But Tony has a 2-second lead, just like you said, Alan. Maybe he's coasting a little bit right now.
And Casey Mears is staying right with Tony Stewart. He's running very well right now. He's running great lap time. So he can get that lucky dog if the yellow comes out, or if he's lucky enough to pass Tony.
Casey had to make an unscheduled pit stop at lap 118, which dropped him off the lead lap, which is the hole he's trying to dig out of now. How about Tony Stewart's team, Matt?
Well, guys, to answer your questions about the race car before this caution. Now, Tony had never said anything on the radio concerning that contact. Basically, what he needed help with, he needed the race car to be tightened up just a tick from the entry to center of the corner, especially on the takeoff, meaning when they dropped the green flag, the first part of the run. That's where he needed the most help because he felt like he was giving up too much time before the car finally came in.
But when he was having problems was later in his run, where Benny and I saw it looked like there may have been some problems after he had contact with John Andretti. So that's what we thought was a fender problem.
And it could have been just as we talked about an aero situation,
right,
getting up behind the zero car aboard Burt, not being able to get by because of an aero push situation.
Well, they fixed it, Matt, regardless of whatever they did, because he looks like he's running pretty good right now off the bat.
Tony's lead over Jimmy Johnson, 2.1 seconds at this point. As you look back.
Now, see, I'm not sure if I was in Tony's spot, if I was just let that 41 go.
But the problem is, if the 41 slows down, Wally, and it is an aero push situation, he will not be able to pass him like he couldn't get by the zero car aboard Burton.
I think I'd get on my radio and I'd tell my spotter, listen, if I let the 41 go, he's going to have to go. If I get back to him, he's going to have to let me pass him.
There's Jimmy Johnson, one of the Gillette Young Guns, as we update where those drivers participating in that program are running today. The first micro-power shaving system from Gillette, the new M3 Power. The new power behind the Gillette Young Guns. Johnson leading the charge for the Young Guns here in Chicagoland today. How about the 48 car, Matty?
Well, earlier in the race, Alan, he was tight trying to get back in the gas. Coming up off the corner, they made an air pressure adjustment to fix that. He also has some left front fender damage. Jimmy says that is making the car tight.
Damage in that jam up on the restart, I'm assuming.
Don't know.
Don't know, but
Matt will tell us for sure in a second here, I'll bet.
Doesn't matter. Damage looks like right there in the bottom, maybe the valence.
The very bottom of the front air dam.
See right there?
What's happening? It's dragging the racetrack and it's drug it back.
Yep. See right there in the right side of your screen, that valence is pushed backwards. That's not where it should be. It should be pushed out a little bit.
Matt's double checking with Chad Canals for us to make sure where they picked that damage up, so we'll hear from him in a second.
And to see Jimmy Johnson run this very, very high line. Matt, what are they saying?
BP, it happened on that restart.
Thank you, Matt. Appreciate the hustle. So your championship leader in the NASCAR Nextel Cup Series, Jimmy Johnson, is chasing Tony Stewart right now. Johnson in search of his fourth win of 2004. Stewart looking for his first win of this year's campaign.
Well, it has been a rock'em sock'em day here at Chicagoland Speedway, on the track and off. On the track, Tony Stewart leading. Off the track, well, the sport cards aren't all in yet, but we can take you through the field and tell you how your drivers are doing. We'll start with the 20 car. He's up front, and that's Matt Yoker.
If you look back at Tony Stewart's career in Nextel Cup competition, he's never gone this deep into a season winless. He's trying to change that today. The car nearly perfect. Meanwhile, the 48 of Jimmy Johnson. If you throw out a bad run at Bristol and Dover, he has had top 9 finishes dating all the way back to March. His car running very well as well. To Bill.
A quiet Sterling Marlin is a good Sterling Marlin. His car is strong. No changes for Sterling in the 40 car. Marty.
Bill Elliott Sadler having a very solid day in the third position, a little bit tight in the middle. He came on the radio to the guys and in this exact tone said, it's no big deal. We got a good shot to win this thing today, trying for his second win of the season. Behind him on the racetrack, Jeremy Mayfield has said nothing on this run. The car has been very neutral as the fuel burns off. He gets a little bit tighter the longer he runs, currently in 5th. Dave?
Rusty Wallace has been back and forth with the no change or slight change on his car. When he makes no changes, it takes a little time, but it eventually tightens up. That's what happened before the last pit stop. They made a slight air pressure change to get it looser. Bill?
Terry Labonte, who drives the 5 car, was in victory lane here yesterday at Chicagoland, celebrating with his son, who won the race. Right now, his car's a little tight in. His crew chief, Jim Long, says we just need some track position, and we'll be in pretty good shape. As for the 16 car, driven by Greg Biffle, he wants 1 round in the right rear on the next stop, so they'll make a chassis adjustment, trying to make that car, which runs good, but doesn't look so hot, a little bit better. Snyder.
Bill, how about this rebound for 2-time Chicago winner Kevin Harvick at 1.2 laps down under green flag pit stops. in 9th. The car was a little bit tight, but it's very good. Kevin's still in the game here. Behind him, Dale Jarrett on the racetrack, running with the leaders after he got down when he cut a right rear tire. DJ has said nothing. Very happy with the race car right now.
There are your top 10 of 21 cars on the lead lap. Tony Stewart's advantage over Jimmy Johnson is shrinking. It is down to 1.8 seconds at lap 160. Let's continue going through the field. Jamie McMurray's got one of the fastest cars on the track at this point, Matt.
It has been a long, patient day for Jamie McMurray. Back on lap 41, he had to give up a top 10 run to pull debris out of the grill. He has slowly worked his way back into contention. No adjustments on his last stop. He says the car is good, Dave.
Mark Martin's crew had trouble with the jack 2 stops ago. That made it for a long pit stop. During the melee, they also pitted. They thought they might have pitted before pit road was open, so they moved to the tail end of the longest line just to make sure. They weren't sure if NASCAR was penalizing them or not. Marty?
Dave, about 15 laps ago, Joe Nemechek came on the radio and said, I'm getting a little frustrated, guys. The car is starting to slide the front nose pretty bad, very tight off the corners. Joe tested his Busch car here, said that really helped him out getting this car ready for today's race. Behind him, we told you not to forget about him. Michael Waltrip started 39th today. He's up to 14th, slowly creeping his way up. Car just a little bit tight. Mikey very happy, Dave.
Remember, Brian Vickers had damage on his car earlier. That caused the car to overheat in the front and handle poorly in the rear. They fixed both of those problems, and now the car is pretty quick. No changes on the last stop. Bill?
Ward Burton, driving the 0 car, told me they've made some aerodynamic changes for this race. If they go in a positive direction, they'll make more aerodynamic changes for 2 weeks. Now listen to this, Benny. They did make 2 click changes on the shock. They made a 2-click change on the shock. Benny, you can work on that, and we'll talk about more of that later. Right now, we'll talk about the 17.
2003 Cup champ is not very happy with his race car right now, Bill. They have been tied all day long. Came down pit road last time, pulled that spring rubber out of the left rear. Matt said, I want it back. Now the car is way too loose. Bill?
Been a wild ride for Robbie Gordon today. Several pit stops, car a little bit tight, but he's hanging on in the top 20, hoping to make a move here in the second half of the race. Matt?
A good and bad day for Bobby Labonte, running 19th. The good, his 10-year-old son Tyler finished 3rd in the Gasoline Alley Nationals at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, a quarter major race earlier today. But the bad, his car is loose again. It just goes back and forth between tight and loose. They continue to adjust. It continues to go back and forth, Dave.
Scott Wimmer having kind of a tough rookie day. They got down a lap early in this race just because they lost track position for so long. Then they got the lucky dog pass the last time. This time they took 4 tires during the stop, but couldn't put fuel in. They still haven't found out why NASCAR wouldn't let them put fuel in, Bill.
Jeff Gordon was not involved in that crash on the restart in the 24 car, but under the last 2 caution periods, they have made numerous pit stops and wholesale changes on this car. From the driver to the crew, we are in worse trouble now than we were. I don't know what to tell you guys. Signed, Jeff Gordon.
So it's fair to say that Gordon's effort to win a 3rd straight win, is in a lot of trouble. Figure this, guys. There have been 11 different drivers lead today. We've run 166 laps. Tony Stewart has led 119. That doesn't leave a whole lot for anybody else.
No, it doesn't. And now Tony's getting up with these other cars, Benny. So we'll see if this slows him down or if he struggles a little bit where Jimmy Johnson can make some ground up, because his car doesn't handle as well around other cars.
He comes around Jeff Green.
He got pointed by Jeff.
But now he's going to run up on Jeff Gordon, the 24 car, who wants to stay on the lead lap. Let's see how much trouble he has getting by Jeff.
The only problem is on the Jeff deal, he may be so loose he may just let Tony go.
That's true.
He's in the championship. It's better than crashing his car trying to race him. All right. Second place, Sterling Marlin has caught Jimmy Johnson.
And look at this Sterling Marlin run on the bottom of the racetrack. Looks like Tony Stewart. What's up with the 48, Matt?
48 can't hold him off, says the car is starting to get a little snug. They're expecting to pit around lap 185, BP.
We've got a little time before those pit stops. We'll come back, see if Tony Stewart laps Jeff Gordon. May not have to wait even that long. All right, we're confident he's going to make this pass here in a minute. We'll talk about it when we come back to Chicagoland.